Things going a lot better today, technical wise. I am in. Let me show y'all where I am. If you're watching on the Real Talk TV, here's today's stop. Take a look at that, AJ. What do you think, man?
Ooh, that is nice.
Those are the Grand Tetons. Go ahead and make your jokes if you want to. And that is, I'm just outside the park, sort of in a, as you can see, there are tourists down there walking around. It's one of these little pull-off areas. They've got these scenic view spots. So I'm hoping that some cop or forest ranger is not just going to run me off today. I think we'll be fine because there are a lot of RVs and whatnot that'll just pull over and hang out for the day or take a hike on one of these trails. But at one point on the trip, I did a hike right at the base of those things, and for perspective, that tallest one in the middle is 13,700 feet. You can see the snow on the caps of the mountains, the snow caps. But that thing's probably 7 miles from me or more. I mean, that's how far away it is. It looks like you could reach out and touch it. But it's like that when all these roads around the Grand Teton Park give you different perspectives on it. There's one drive that just drives right along the base, and it's like these things are towering over your automobile. But here's where we're hanging out today. Not a whole lot of interviews or guests or anything like that. It's just me and you guys on the phones and the headlines and everything that's happening as we're working our way sort of north and then east. Then I start heading back to Birmingham, hitting some cool spots along the way. We'll still be in Wyoming the rest of the week. Heading over to Cody to some of our favorite stops over in Cody, Wyoming tomorrow. And then we'll hit Buffalo, Wyoming by the end of the week. And I think we did a replay of our friend Laura from Buffalo, who was with us the last time we went through there. I think that was, 3-4 years ago? So anyway, Leland Live on the road, America's 250, celebrating this beautiful country. And I highly encourage you, if you ever get a chance to just get out west. You know, a lot of folks fly into this area. In fact, it's not going to surprise me that you don't hear an airplane in a little bit. I'm only about 5 miles from the Jackson Hole Airport, so there could be some planes flying over later in the show. And some people do fly in here and rent a car and hang out. But it's so incredible to see your country on the ground. And I always encourage this, to get on the ground and just head west. Just go out here, and then you're free to do what you want and go where you want. And there's so many places to see and to be out here in the great American West. And this is our stop for today. By the way, all this brought to you by our good friends at Appalachian Foothills RV and RV Park. Man, those guys are just the best at what they do. They are. I always speak to the Tiffin people. I met some Tiffin owners this morning at the place I was staying last night. Everybody gets out with their coffee and just kind of walks around. And these guys, I was telling all these guys, man, people will drive from all over the country to come to our part of the country because we build those Tiffins here in Alabama. And most of these guys that work at Appalachian Foothills are Tiffin guys as well, trained and work in the Tiffin factories. But they're an authorized service center to do work on those particular units, and they can handle anything you bring in there. If you got a fifth wheel or other kind of unit that you want to bring in there for body work or service work, let them help. It is Appalachian Foothills. They're right off exit 30. That's my best way to describe it, up near, I guess it would be Hamilton, Alabama, out on I-22. A little bit of a ride from Birmingham, but we've got so many listeners all over, and people come from all over the country to get them to do their work. So if you want it done right, y'all get up to Appalachian Foothills, and hey, you can stay in the park too and hang out while your work is getting done. Man, where do we start? I guess we got to start. We talked so much about the soccer game. I'm still going to call it soccer. Can we go back to not liking soccer again? I mean, it didn't last long. Oh, help me. So I finally decided to watch a match, and it'd be the one match where we just got slapped down. We just got beat down. Did you see any of that last night, AJ? I know y'all had to do Breaking Bread. You probably didn't have much time to watch it.
I'm sorry, I'm on the phone. Say that question again.
So did you see any of the soccer match last night?
I did not see the soccer match. I know USA lost, but I did watch a little bit today with Egypt and Argentina.
Oh, it was, dude, it was just that poor old goalie, man. People were mad at him and dog cussing him today, but he just took off and left the goal wide open like a 5-year-old, man. I was like, I don't know much about soccer, but as soon as I saw that wide open goal, I thought, we're toast. And that was sort of the death knell. There were 2 more points scored, I believe. 2 more scored after that, so, or maybe that was the 3rd point they got. But anyway, it was kind of rough. But hey, patriotism and our country, despite the fact that our team, and we're not a soccer nation, we never really go past that round anyway. But it's really amazing to see how the world, and I don't think it's an exaggeration, they've really fallen in love with this country. they're seeing a different America than is being presented. And I would submit to you, not only by people that don't like this country and other countries, that the way they talk about us and how we do things, it's our fellow Americans, these bitter, rotten, left-wing, socialist weirdos that are trying to take over. And by the way, this isn't new. They've been trying to pull these same tactics for years in this country to undermine our founding and what we're about, what we believe in our freedoms, and our people are jealous of our freedoms. If you're a parasitic person and you believe in something like socialism, which is nothing but theft, it's just dressed up in a nice name. It's communism. It's the same thing this country's fought against for years and years. Then you're going to have to hate what exists. You've got to talk down what exists and try to break down what exists. And that's always been an ongoing battle, really, since this country was founded 250 years ago. And I know it seems frightening to see the Democrats fall to the hands of these crazy people, but they're not going to get far with that. They just can't. Those ideas could never get elected anywhere in mainstream America. They can only get elected in these weird, deeply blue cities full of foreign people, by the way, places like New York, where, by the way, we've got a building collapsing today, and it's a hell of a story. I've been slowly keeping up with it. If we get any updates, we'll have that for you too. But there's a pretty nice sized building, and I forget the floor count. I think it's well over 30 floors that had some construction work going on, and the beams inside the building started bending and collapsing. And then, of course, masonry falling off the walls and some of the other parts of the building on several floors collapsing. So they not only had to evacuate that building with the construction workers and anybody else that was in it, but several buildings, and I believe there was a school next door. So this is an ongoing sort of crisis for the city of New York. Now, I'm not so naive or crass as just to blame that on, well, Mamdami's the mayor. Look, this is just physics. This project's probably been going on long before his mayorship. But what I will tell you, and I believe this with all certainty, this is how do I put this? This is the future for New York City. And let me just explain it in economic terms. I didn't even plan on going off on a tangent on New York, but when you freeze rents, you freeze the ability for landlords to maintain those buildings. They have to cover their overhead with rent in places like New York, where they're already heavily regulated and heavily taxed. They do everything they can to disincentivize good stewardship of the infrastructure of that city. And I've seen this in real life. I've seen this in other parts of the country. And when there's no rental income that can be had because if you invest in a property like this, you expect to get a paycheck. That's why you invest anything. You expect to get a return of some sort. And to get that return, you've got to charge fair rates and cover all the cost. It's like any other investment. And if you cut down the ability to do that, one, some landlords are just going to abandon the place. And secondly, they're going to neglect to do the maintenance. And I think that's, cynically, I think that's part of Mamdami's approach. He's actually said this in the past. If you think about it, it's very similar to what Barack Obama was trying to do to the oil and gas and the coal industry, where he announced, and I can't remember if it was before he became president, but he just announced that they were going to make it too expensive to be in that kind of energy business. And I'm sitting here going, Mamdami's doing the same thing. If you create a situation where landlords can't keep the buildings up, then the city comes in and condemns the building and tries to turn it over to free rent for people from, hell, I don't know, Zimbabwe or wherever. And so all these immigrants who have no loyalty to this country, no fidelity to anything about our founding, our culture, or who we are as a people, they only come here to take. And so they get invited in, they get subsidized by the left, and this is more of that subsidized housing, and they crash the system. They socialize housing by just crushing it and then taking it over. It's predatory. And I think that's part of what they're doing. They've got these new boards that are going around inspecting buildings and putting them up to be subject to be condemned and taken over by the city. And then they make it impossible to own one. I think it's intentional. Now, the big picture is stuff like this. Again, not knowing the details of what caused these structural problems, there's going to be more degradation, of the maintenance. You'll see graffiti, you'll see broken windows, you'll see air conditioners that won't work, you'll see bigger rats, you'll see more roaches, you'll see less maintenance, more plumbing leaks, because the landlords are not going to invest any more money in something where they're going to lose their shirt. No smart, you wouldn't do it, I wouldn't do it, nobody that with a brain would do it. And that's what they're setting up in our biggest city, what used to be the one of the proudest cities we had in this country, and it's on a very, very dangerous path. Because I say all that, I know that was a dirt road that I took based on the soccer game. But despite that, despite a suicide in our cities, our country has embraced a suicide pact of a lot of elements, the voting system, the welfare system, the corruption system in our politics, and what's happening in our very blue cities with these communist people getting elected and representing. They don't have much power now. The only place they can grab power is amongst their own. The Democrats have become so weak and lacking in leadership, they're allowing this takeover. Hell, today, one of the big stories is this Plattner. I mean, they're now a party that takes up for Nazis, illegals, communists. Think about all the derelicts of the society of the world. Radical Islamists who would do us in as well. All of these by the way, all of these throughout the history of this country have been the enemies of this country. All of these ideas have been the enemies of this country. We have fought commies. We have fought the Nazis. The first war we ever fought was Islamic extremists kidnapping our merchants in the Mediterranean. It's why we had to make a navy. These are the same damn people, the same ideas. And the biggest danger to ourselves is that we would lose our own ability to define ourselves, our own identity, who we are as a people. What do we stand for? What do we fight for? Because if you don't know what you need to fight for, you're not going to fight for it, and that's the plan. But outside of all that, we've had a little bit of it seems, maybe I'm being too Pollyanna about it, but there's kind of a resurgence of patriotism. There's a movie out that has ties to the producers being from Alabama, this young Washington that's doing better at the box office than a lot of franchise things. You saw incredible crowds turn up for all of the patriotic events this year on the 250. You didn't see, then the Democrats chose to give doom and gloom speeches about the country and the state of the country. The economy is improving by the day. I mean, everything about the economy is improving right now, moving up, moving in the right direction. And I'm not just talking about the stock market numbers, but fundamental numbers. And so you're seeing service numbers in our military start to rise. Young men and women are willing to go fight for this country again. That was on the decline. The pride in wearing that uniform is coming back just because of plain old discipline and standards, which really a lot of young people of any worth, that's what they're going to seek out. That's what they're going to want from any kind of putting their lives on the line. And so this stuff's in a way getting better. When you survey these young kids, these Gen Zers and others, despite the fact that there's a little bit of a lazy work ethic problem in some of that generation and a sense of entitlement and just a false sense of expectations, a lot of times they have more conservative values than the generations before them, including mine. I'm Gen X. Their values seem to align more with the World War II generation, which we all know is the greatest generation. And I got to think the imagery and the optimism that's starting to grow in our country as the economy improves and some of these kids actually have a chance to get involved. You had the Trump accounts yesterday. If you contribute to those and open an account for your kid, I was seeing the numbers today. By the time they're 18, they've got what, $300,000 or $400,000 that they could spend on a house or education or something when they graduate high school. If they leave it alone another 10 years and keep the contributions going, these kids are millionaires by the time they're 28, and all they got to do is the minimal because somebody invested in them years before. 28 years later, some of us, I probably won't even be here, but these kids, your grandkids could very well be sitting on $1 million or more in assets, and that gives a little bit of hope that even despite the things I almost said prostitutes, our politicians do to us and due to the budgets in the country, there's still room for optimism. We're not done yet. Don't get discouraged by this vortex of stupidity and repetition that you get on social media. And I'll be honest with you, I have to fight against it too, because I swim in the news every day. From the time I get up, I've got to read this stuff. sort of vet out the stupidity and the false stories and the nonsense. Sometimes I have to read the nonsense so I can talk about the nonsense, so y'all don't believe the nonsense. So I have to understand what's wrong about whatever's being presented. But even as a person, I've got to keep that stuff out of my brain. Having come back from 2 weeks of sort of mental rest and being out in this beautiful part of the country, hey, y'all don't want to look at me. Let me show you the mountains. And we'll flip back to that shot. AJ, remind me every now and then to take the camera off my big old watermelon ugly face and put it on the mountains. We'll put it over here on the mountains. That's what y'all tune in to look at. By the way, if y'all follow our trip, and every show will be different because every location's different. And after yesterday battling the sun and then the rain, I decided to be indoors today. So that nice hum you in the background is my generator and my air conditioner as I am inside the mobile command unit. But we got cameras out there looking at our live view of this very, very beautiful part of the country. We hope y'all enjoy the next couple of 3 weeks. All right, so we'll get the phone calls going. Let me get all organized. We'll get our first break in here. Happy to talk to you about our friends at Floor Tech and Kevin and that whole gang over there that have just – I love it when Alabama steps forward and makes things better when it comes to anything, business, innovation. We got a proud heritage of a lot of things. And I got to tell you, Floor Tech looked at an entire industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Kevin basically said, people spend billions on these concrete coatings every single year. It's a huge market, but the product sucks. And immediately I thought of my own experience of putting one of these in a garage one time. You know, you put the painting, sort of that thick coating on, and you put the flake in there. I even rented a little shoe, or made little shoes with little spikes so you could walk on it and put the color on. I burned the fibers off. I did everything right. It still yellowed, and later it peeled. I thought maybe it was something I did wrong. Turns out it was just a crappy product. And so what Kevin and the team did right here, these folks from Alabama, is really went into the lab and found out why these products suck. They studied the other products. It's because they've been thinned out with solvents and things that make the product weaker. They do that to sort of stretch the product out and make it easier to apply. You want to do it right. Do it with the good stuff. Floor Tech puts down the good stuff on these decks, garages, pool decks, driveways, commercial showrooms. If you got a commercial space, you know, unprotected concrete is just going to absorb stains and oils and really look bad over time. It's nice to get this done. Let Floor Tech come and show off for you. And they so believe in their process. By the way, they most installs are done in a day. So you move your stuff out of the way, boom, it's done, and then it's guaranteed for the life of that home. That is a transferable warranty if you ever sell the house. Good stuff. It is Floor Tech Coatings. You can put a K in there, Floor, T-E-K, floortechcoatings.com. Back here live from the Grand Tetons. Here in just a minute, out in Wyoming. Back in a minute. AJ, I've been talking. Can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry. I thought you this whole. I was jumping to the music. I thought
Okay,
you
hold on.
had.
You got to explain yourself now because I just did a whole commercial, and then I thought you died again. I don't know what in the hell's going on back there. What did you just do?
All right, so that was on me. All right, so I
Okay.
thought I had you. I thought I had you potted up, right? I
Well,
see you
right.
messing with the camera, going back and forth. So
No,
I
that's
thought
the
you was
wind.
still. I thought you was
That's the
still
wind
like.
blowing. You just never turned me up. I listened to Stuck in the Middle with you for 3
Oh,
minutes.
I thought
And
I
so
had
did the
you
audience.
up this whole time. I'm so sorry.
If you didn't hear me,
I thought you was. I thought I had you in
understand.
queue. That was on me, man. I'm sitting here just jabbing. I thought you was still messing with the camera. You know,
we're doing a live radio show, man. It's
I
2:29.
know. I know. That's on me. Oh, my bad.
Somebody in there talking to you.
No. I'm sitting here literally watching you move the camera back and forth.
For the record, there is no earthquake today in the Grand Tetons. I've got that camera up on a pole, and the wind is just pushing that.
That
thing
was
right
the
off.
wind. Oh,
Yeah, the wind's just. These cameras are pretty small. They're robotic, and so the wind is just blowing that camera out. I may have to put that thing down, or make it a little lower or something. Or it may just be fun to watch it do that. Watch all these tourists flip around on screen. Back in a minute. All right, y'all, let's try this one more time. Axiom Tax Resolution Group bringing you the show tonight. Perry Cronin, my man, Perry, is just, we're so lucky to have, let me flip that camera back on me for a minute while it settles down. We're so lucky to have an expert like Perry in our audience and able to help us with these tax matters. When it comes to IRS, a lot of folks, I mean, you get dumb advice from relatives and friends and somebody you think is smart about when you should file and just don't file or just put this off or file an extension. And, man, you can wind up behind the eight ball, and the IRS is vicious. They're the world's most aggressive tax collection agency, and they will come for their pound of flesh with the whole federal government. And you just can't stand up to that unless you've got expert advice like Perry and his team that can sit down with you and get this stuff worked out. They know who to talk to, how to talk to them, what your rights are, what you should offer, what you should accept, what can get you out of it, payback plans, all these things to get this off your back. It's Axiom Tax Resolution Group, 205tax.com, 205tax.com. Y'all reach out to Perry. Look, he's local. We're so lucky to have somebody that can help us with these things very personally like this. Axiom Tax Resolution Group. Well, in addition to watching this building collapse in New York City or about to collapse in New York City, it's fascinating what they're going to do to try to fix this situation. We've got this mystery surrounding Mitch McConnell. Now, he's been smelling bad for a long time because he's way past his due date in the Senate. But this dude is AWOL. They sent the Senate on recess. It's believed he's in the hospital. There have been numerous reports that he's already passed away, none of which have been credible or substantiated. But something's up with this Mitch McConnell seat, and typical of these politicians. Remember when Dianne Feinstein did this and stayed too long? We've had others that were just so invalid they couldn't function in the job anyway, and they don't have the decency to just step down and move out of the way for other people to be appointed. That's the responsible, to me, that's the patriotic thing to do. And this old sellout who has caused a lot of problems. Every now and then he's done some good things too, in fairness. But his expiration date on his milk jug has been over for years, and they just need to have him just resign from the seat and let the state of Kentucky go through its process of reappointing. And if I'm not mistaken, in Kentucky, they've got a Democrat governor, but the legislature in the past created some rule change where he doesn't automatically get to put a person of another party in that position. I have to do some more homework on it and probably counting our chickens too soon that he would be replaced. But we're watching that story this afternoon again as we hang out here in Wyoming. Let's see if that camera stopped moving. AJ, I'm going to go put another one up here in just a minute and see if we can have a backup shot that won't have so much wind on it. Man, we've been dealing with the elements out here, but that's the beauty of being out in this part of the country.
Now, quick question: is that the highest point in Wyoming?
No, I looked that up. That's a really good question. The one in the middle there, let me see if I can move it without it shaking in the wind too much. Again, I can control all these things from inside the broadcast unit here. The one in the middle, they've got names for each one of them too. I'm not like Fred and Tom and all that, but there's some. And at some point on one of the hikes, I memorized the names of each peak and then totally forgot them by today. But the one in the middle is about 13,700 some odd feet. And it's not a real 14er, but it's the second highest peak in Wyoming.
Oh wow!
Don't ask me what the highest is because I don't have that info right now, but we can look that up. But yeah, that one right there in the middle, and it is. Again, I try to describe it to the audience. It's miles from where we're sitting right here. This is just an overlook. You see all the tourists down there probably reading these very facts that you and I are just talking about.
It kind of reminds me of Seattle, going to Seattle. And you see
Mount Olympus
and all that.
Yeah.
And you think it's like really close, and then you realize like it's like 3 hours away.
It's just crazy in the summer to see snow caps like that and to know how cold it is up there. And we're down here in the heat. And I mean, I guess it's around it's in mid-70s right now. I know Alabama, that'd feel like a cool snap for folks back home. But it's pretty warm on the ground, and to just see snow all year, and they did have a snow just a few days ago up on those mountains, and everything on the other side actually had accumulated some snow, which was a little unusual for this time of the year. But and I'll tell you what's so impressive. If you come out of Jackson Hole and head north, this position we're in right now is about 15 miles north of the city, the little town of Jackson. And if you head up here and past the airport, about 6 miles after you leave the city, you turn around this bend, sort of go over a hill, and these mountains just come out of nowhere. You really can't see these peaks in town, but the minute you see them, you can drive for an hour and you can still see them. They're just right there, being beautiful and doing their thing. Let's go to Jan on line one. We'll go heavy on the phone calls today. We're not inundated with news, but if any of these breaking stories take over, we'll of course go right to that. Jan, what is happening with you this afternoon?
Well, hello, Leland. Good God,
Hey.
You've been wound up.
Yeah, I know. I'm on some
I've
caffeine.
been following you on Facebook. I was out in Wyoming about a year and a half ago. My great grandson is being held hostage by
Oh,
my
Lord.
grandson and his family out there. But we were in Lander and Robertson or something. We were out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But we did drive over to the mountains and the Grand Tetons, and it's beautiful. But God, you drive. It's like being in Texas. You drive for forever
You
to
do.
get somewhere.
Yep. You know, there's just
I know.
there's the little town of Jackson, and it's surrounded by this elk preserve where they've created this wildlife sanctuary for the elk. And then right around that is the Teton Park, and then right adjacent to that, by the way, Yellowstone butts right up against this park. So the boundary for Yellowstone is only about maybe 40 miles from here as well. So you got all these national lands and very little of anything else, and you can drive for an hour and a half just to get from place to place for sure.
Oh yeah. It's a beautiful place, but I'll take a little bit more congestion and civilization. But anyhow, I've been enjoying your show. You've been on a roll. Have a safe trip.
All
And
right,
we'll
Jan.
talk to you later.
Good to hear from you. It's good to hear from
Bye.
all y'all this afternoon. By the way, if you want to get in on the show, 545-9950 is the phone number. Let me look at my list of things and maybe make sure I'm not missing anything in the first hour that we want to get to. By the way, I saw a story today and I haven't heard much more about it. I'm trying to do some more confirming on that. And if you'll forgive me on some of these show days when we're out west, good part of the morning is driving. So when my normal way of show prepping is just read, and take notes on my thoughts and keep a story list every day on my computer. Can't do that when I'm driving. So honestly, and AJ's done this with me so many times, I just have to memorize the stories and try not to forget anything. And that's a challenge at my age. So I'm looking here at a list I jotted down when I was able to get in position here. And one of those was Macron is apparently at some point, he was visiting Syria today and some bombs went off near where he was staying. We don't know if it was a direct terror attack against Macron from France or if it was just Syria. So I'll see if we can get some updates on that too. Just keeping up with all the things this afternoon. And of course, there's been an uptick in action with Iran as these crazy on again, off again talks continue over in Iran. It is the oil markets, as we told you before, had almost priced all this stuff out, and now they've receded back to where they were before the shooting began in Iran. And I'm not saying this for sure, but they look almost bulletproof to the rest of whatever. In other words, if we have a skirmish, and a lot of times what the Iranians are doing is they're trying to create a situation that drives up the oil price to put pressure on us. And they do it over and over. Every time there's a breakthrough, every time we're about to get a settlement, they'll strike a boat, they'll send a drone, they'll do something to create uncertainty over all of that. And they benefit from that. They benefit from flexing on the strait, even with this low-tech technology that they use with this drone stuff. But it's very effective. So they did it again. They've done it again over the last 2 days. And so right now the markets don't react like they were. And I think part of that equation, this is a guess on my part, is just this uptick in production all over the world. The United States is putting out oil as fast as we can go. Now, some of it was trapped at the beginning of this and couldn't get out. A lot of those ships have been able to get through. And so the countries that produce oil and consume oil have found other routes. There's a lot of new oil supply and demand coming onto the markets. And so they don't have the strength to manipulate like they did at the beginning of this. And that's a good thing for the world. The world should not be held hostage by these lunatics. And hopefully, in my heart of hearts, I want a regime change there. I'd like to see some rational people take over that nation. But it is what it is. And if anything develops on that, of course, we'll keep you up to date on that too. Alabama Bass, another great sponsor here on the show. If you're living in a home alone, or you've gotten older, or you've had some injury, or even illness from time to time, life can throw a curve at you like that. You don't have to just live in fear of things like just get in the shower. Some days that's exactly what you need to clear your mind and to relax your soul and to get you ready for bed or the day if you're a morning shower person, whatever. And it's just something that a lot of us just take for granted. And then suddenly when you have to fear it, people put it off. People put off getting in there because they're afraid they're going to fall. And that's so sad. If you got a relative that's going through this, a mom, dad, grandparent, or you yourself, you can improve that situation in 2 days with Alabama Bass. They'll come in and just rip that old inaccessible system out, that unsafe old cast iron bathtub, and put in something that not only looks more beautiful, but is just so much more safer. It's designed for safety. The ergonomics of it, the slip-proof surfaces, everything that's involved, you'll get the ease of going back to being able to do these things for yourself again, and that's beautiful. If you got somebody in your family that maybe your whole family wants to get together and give this as a gift to mom, I think it's beautiful. You're not giving them a shower, you're giving them peace, and you're giving them independence. You just can't buy that, can you? Look, it's Alabama Bass. This is a family business, been around more than 40 years in the business, and these guys are ready to take care of you. Veterans, you earned some of these benefits where the VA may pay for this upgrade in your home. That's not charity, man. We owe that to you. Take advantage of it. And John over at Alabama Bass is a veteran, so he gets it. And sometimes when you start that process, it's going to take a long time. So you know what? They'll help you through it. They'll wait on you. They'll give you a good price and wait for all that to get cleared and then come do the job. Some of these big corporate companies, they're not going to fool with you. They're just going to move on to the next customer. But these are our neighbors at Alabama Bass, and they're the best in the business. It's alabamabass.com. Down in Pelham, if you want to go see one of these, alabamabass.com. Back in a minute. All right, y'all, about 10 minutes before the hour, Storm Restoration Services bringing you the show tonight. Greg Nelson, listen, if you got to have somebody up on your roof, and I ain't getting up there myself, I like to do a home project or two, but I don't like ladders and I don't like heights and I don't know anything about a roof. So if I had trouble, if I had a leak, if I had a problem, if I had any issues, I'd have Greg to my house immediately. He's going to do a new install on my little home extension that we're working on this year, and so I didn't trust anybody but Greg to make that roof look right and to match the everything else that's up there. And he's just so good. His team's so good. His whole family's working with him in the business. Here's another 2-generation local business with years and years. He's going on 30. I'm rounding him off a little bit, but Greg's going on 30 years of experience in this business. So, look, y'all reach out to him and let him take care of anything you need. If you need a new install, I mean, you got to get the whole thing done. Greg can do that for you and do it right. He can help you with the adjusters if it's an insurance claim, if you need financing on a bigger project or any of these projects. Some of his finance companies will even help you with those out-of-pocket expenses that a lot of us, we don't read about that when we sign up for a home policy. None of us, be honest, we don't read the fine print. And hidden in there somewhere is some giant deductible if you have to have a claim. And he's got finance companies that can help take care of that too, so you can get the project done. Especially in this storm season that we're in. I was looking at the tropics today. There's some parade of systems that could be lining up. We don't know if any of them are ever going to come at us, but we are heading into that part of storm season at some point as well. Keep this number handy. And I always tell you all this. Some of you tune me out as soon as I start talking about your roof because you're good. Your roof's good, no problems, but you could have a sudden problem and you might need Greg's phone number. He works off this number right here. Jot it down, 205-542-3531, 205-542-3531, Storm Restoration Roofing. All right, as we head toward the top of the hour, live from out here at the Grand Tetons in Western Wyoming, just such a beautiful place. If y'all are watching on the Real Talk TV channels, you're seeing a lot of motion on that camera. That's just the winds pick up out here out of nowhere, and especially when you're near these mountains. And I think, of course, the mountains affect all that. They can come sweeping down, and suddenly it's just pushing that camera all over the place. AJ, during the top of the hour, I want to go put another one up, and we'll have something else to switch to that I think I can shield from all that here in just a minute. Just
now,
trying to have.
Now, did I hear you say correct? Is that all that mountain range, the Teton Mountains? Is that what they call the whole mountain range?
Yeah, from the end of it, let me see if I can control this thing real quick, even though, again, I'm fighting the elements that way. If you go, now I'm heading south right now with this camera, so I'm going to the southern end. That would be back toward Jackson, Wyoming, and then the park just encompasses all of those mountains a little bit north and south of that. And so you go that way and you're heading a little more north and away from the peaks. And then the park, you go into it and there's a road. There's actually a really cool, if y'all are into biking, we brought those e-bikes. AJ, I've decided to call them Lay's e-bikes. Because, man, you get to pedaling, you get tired, you just hit the button and you're done pedaling, man. You just cruise it, and it's pretty dang fun. I'd never had them to this trip. So we rode those right along that base of that mountain for several miles the other day. And so they've got these paved, improved trails that are off the road. And then, of course, they're the beauty that you can't see from here. Let me see if I can point something. Let's just be tourists right now. Do you see a tree line right there in front of those tourists? Behind that is the Snake River. And the Snake River just weaves throughout this whole area, down through Jackson, down into Idaho. And it's just stunning, but you can't see it from this vantage point because it's really down in a valley below that. And just below those mountains, at the base of those mountains, are some of the prettiest lakes you will ever see. There's a park. If this camera would be still, I'd move it over. Let me try to control that. There's a park in that direction that's a big welcome center called Jenny Lake. And you'll see some beautiful images of the mountains reflecting on that water. The lake is really still. They even have some sort of charter boats that go across the lake. They'll pick you up on one side, take you across the other side. You can hike all the way around it. It takes hours. And it does get pretty remote back in there. So there's Jenny Lake, a bunch of other lakes, Jackson Lake, and all these lakes. And this is just the big, beautiful park just to the south of Yellowstone. The cool thing is it looks very different than Yellowstone, even though we're just, I don't know, about 40 miles from the perimeter of Yellowstone. This park looks absolutely different. If I were just looking at images online or somebody sent me a picture, I'd instantly know. Once you see them, you kind of know the Tetons. You just know. Let me send it back that direction. you just know what they look like. They've got a signature. They almost have a personality, and so do the things underneath. So some of the reason of coming out here on the road and doing this stuff, I love meeting our fellow Americans, and from time to time we'll be doing shows that are guest heavy, and we're meeting some cool people. Sometimes it's just the beauty out here too, and you just can't appreciate it till you see it. We talked about this yesterday, but we had so many technical issues. I'm not sure how much of that made it on the air, but on July 4th, there's this infamous spot where people get up and go watch the sunrise. So I would be right now. You and I looking at this shot are east of those mountains. So the sunrise is in the east. So the first thing that orange morning glow hits are the peaks of those mountains before it really comes all the way up, and it's stunning. It's like they catch on fire. And so the story I told, I don't know if you heard me yesterday, AJ, but I took my Bible study. I was going with my wife. We were going to be there. I thought, we're going to watch the sun come up. I'm going to have a moment with nature. I'm going to be like Grizzly Adams. I'm going to take something spiritual to read. Just going to have a moment out here, watch this beautiful sunrise. And we went down this long dirt road that's just, you can almost see it from here where this little spot we went to. And so we went down this long dirt road in the Jeep, and it was rough, and we were bouncing. We got there mostly before everybody. So we get there, and there's like 20 or 30 people. And I thought, well, that's not so bad. We can find us a little spot. But and by the way, it was 4 o'clock in the morning when we left. It took us an hour to get up here. So it was about 4:45 or so when we pulled in there. And it was 35 degrees. I'm freezing. AJ, I got on shorts because I'm hard-headed because it's summer, and I just wore shorts. But I did have a coat on. And so we get out there, and suddenly I hear some very loud Japanese people. And then I heard more. Then a bus drove up. And then it was some more. And then the Indians showed up. And it was probably about 500 people. Car jam. Everybody just rolled up in there. And then there were all these losers that showed up at like 6 o'clock. They'd already missed it. They were still rolling in there somehow, trying to see the sunrise after the moment. So because of social media, some of these spots get advertised and talked about of people that go on vacations. So everybody's following and searching and Googling the same info. So we're all doing the same things. So it does get a little crowded. I felt like I was on a Godzilla movie for just a minute. I said it yesterday. If Godzilla had come up over that mountain and started running at us, it would not have surprised me. I was already I was prepared for it yesterday, or on the 4th. But yeah, y'all come and do this stuff, and yeah, you do have to, anywhere you go like this. I remember one time I was up in New York with my son. By the way, he's left there now. People ask about how he's doing. He's had to move to Chicago. He's pretty excited about his next step. But now he's a Chicago guy. But one of the times I was up there visiting him, we were just walking down the block, and there was this coffee shop that had a line that must have gone 5 blocks. And I asked him, I said, what's the deal with that coffee shop? And I can't remember the name of it. He goes, it's really not that good. There's nothing to it. I said, well, what's the line about? He goes, Instagram. He said, one person posts, then somebody shares it, and then it's a thing, and everybody has it, and somebody puts a nice picture up. And so every single tourist that comes to New York's got to go to this little special coffee shop. But hey, if you were in the business, that'd be good for you. Try to get that kind of publicity for sure. So that's just part of traveling and being in the world. All right, have you heard enough of that, AJ? Is that enough of the lecture on the tourist?
No, that's
Godzilla.
actually pretty cool.
Godzilla! I almost yelled Godzilla just to see if they'd all start running, so I'd have some peace.
No, but wouldn't it be what is the big bull that what was that folklore? Oh gosh.
Oh, you talking about Paul Bunyan?
Yeah, Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
And his big bull. That's what it'd be out in Wyoming. Wouldn't be Godzilla.
Wouldn't he? He's like Minnesota, right? Like North Dakota, Minnesota. He's up there somewhere.
He's somewhere up there.
I've done on some of this trip. It might be South Dakota because you'll see all this Paul Bunyan stuff, and then there's part of the trip out here you'll start to see Bigfoot stuff. It's just every other store's got a Bigfoot signs, Bigfoot T-shirts, because some of the folklore does get built up around these places, and I mean it's gimmicky, but I will stop and get a magnet. I'll get a refrigerator magnet. I wish I had a camera in here and I'd show you. We started picking up magnets and putting them on the fridge in here. We must have 30 or 40 on there now. Oh, yeah. It started, it reminds me of my Aunt Dot. She was the sweetest woman in the world. God rest her soul. And no matter where I went in the world, she wasn't that impressed with it, but she wanted a refrigerator magnet. I mean, it didn't matter where I was going. I was like, you want to show you the pictures of the, this historic whatever. And she'd go, no, where's my magnet? So I started getting her magnets, and I don't know, it just reminds me of her every time we pick one of these $2 magnets up at a gas station. Stick them on the fridge. Hey, y'all, Crocker Moving Services, if you're ready to get up and go somewhere else yourselves, Crocker will move you all the way out here, or just come get that piano or that couch or that pool table or that safe or something heavy out of your life or into your life, whatever it is you need. From time to time, you just need some strong backs and some expertise and all that stuff. Instead of trying to do it yourself or rely on your friends, Crocker can help. They can scale their services down to a 2-hour deal. Isn't that amazing? So you only have to pay for what you need with Crocker. So reach out to them. That's their minimum is 2 hours. Let Eric and his team do it. I trust them to move your stuff. You'll appreciate how they do things. It's CrockerMovingServices.com, CrockerMovingServices.com. Here comes the top of the hour news live from the Tetons in western Wyoming. Back here in just a minute. Y'all stay tuned.